Hello, everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington. And before we dive into today's episode, which is Nene Leaks and Andy Cohen exposed, is Nene Leaks the most hypocritical housewife out there? Maybe, maybe not. We're going to talk about it. But before we dive in, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. And if you're watching live, be sure to say hi, drop your name, drop where you're watching from, and any questions or comments you have about Nene, Bethany, Andy Cohen, and the Bravo reality TV reckoning. So with that, let's go. So let's just break it all down a bit. So Miss Nene Leaks. So this is the thing. The core reason why I think Nene is one of the most hypocritical housewives is for two reasons. One, she didn't have a problem with Bravo, with Andy Cohen, and all of their alleged racism and favoritism and toxic work environment as long as it benefited her. So Nene only sued Bravo and turned on Andy Cohen after she fell out of favor. So when she didn't get her spinoffs, when her acting career didn't work out, she was doing shows on, the new normal and other acting gigs, but those kind of dried up. When she didn't get asked back to RHOA, then all of a sudden she had such a problem, such an issue with Bravo and Andy Cohen. Now, side note, I'm going to preface this with this. Do I believe what Nene said in her lawsuit about there being racism and favoritism and sexism and a toxic work environment? Yes, I do believe it. I believe what she said happened was true. She's not the only person who said this. The problem is, or where it becomes hypocritical is, I also believe she only had a problem with it when she was able to weaponize it against Andy and the network and the public and the production company when she wasn't getting what she wanted. And to me, you can't have it both ways. The toxic environment can't be cool as long as you're getting paid and you're getting your money and you're getting spinoffs and you're getting fame. But then when all that dries up, all of a sudden it's this big, civil rights humanitarian issue. Which is it? I also think that Nene was very bitter over fumbling the bag. As we said, once she fell out of favor, she did this huge lawsuit against NBC, against Bravo, against Andy. She was tweeting left and right. Her entire talent team, her publicist, her agents, they all ended up firing her. Not because she sued NBC and Bravo, but because she went on social media. Again, when you're going to do this type of stuff, it's better to be silent until you're able to really make your moves. But she was very loud on Twitter, and she was basically saying that her team was complicit in the racism and all of this stuff. And her team basically was like, what are you talking about? We have supported you. We're backing you. Now you're saying we are complicit in this. So they basically dropped her. So she fumbled the bag there. She did not get, her team dropped her. And then all of her other projects that she was trying to get off the ground, I think she was doing something with is it Zeus Network or something like that? But that didn't really work out. She tried to do the restaurant. That didn't really work out. And then she didn't make any money in the lawsuit. She filed the lawsuit in the wrong jurisdiction. So then the judge dismissed it without prejudice. So if you guys remember when it came out that her lawsuit was dismissed, everyone was like, oh, Nene got the bag. Nene went and got some money. No. If you know I'm not a lawyer, but I do know this about the legal system. If there is a lawsuit and it gets dismissed without prejudice, that means that that person can then go back and sue those same people for the same exact issues. So if there had been a settlement, i.e. money, it would have been dismissed with prejudice, meaning it's settled, it's done. And that happens two times. Either one, where the judge says the case has no merit and we're just going to dismiss this with prejudice, so you can't keep suing somebody when you don't have a plausible case. It happens too if there's a money settlement. It's settled. You can't get money for a lawsuit and then go back and sue them again for the same thing. That's why it's called settled. It's over. It's done. So the fact that her case got dismissed without prejudice inherently means she did not get any money. So she fumbled the bag there. Okay. Now, with all that being said, she's bitter because she fumbled the bag, didn't get any money in her lawsuit. It got dismissed. She is pissed because she didn't get any spinoffs. Her acting jobs and her other projects aren't working out, and she never got back asked to RHOA. Now, let's interject Miss Bethany Frankel. Bethany Frankel, clearly, in my opinion, is also a hypocrite. She clearly used and exploited Nene for her whole Reality Reckoning podcast series after Bethany has clowned Nene for so long. So long. We can't forget when Bethany used the black scent on Watch What Happens Live. She's like, oh, yeah, all the housewives on Atlanta are like, oh, girl, snatch and weave and blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, Bethany, please don't, use your black scent and use racial microaggressions trying to shame the black cast of Real Housewives of Atlanta when you yourself, Miss Bethany Frankel, has called other women every name in the book other than a child of God. The way you talk to Sonia, the way you talk to Ramona, the way you've talked to Luann, the way you've talked to a lot of people is disgusting. So you need to make sure your side of the street is clean before you try to be, racially prejudiced against somebody else. And all the girls, including yourself, Bethany, are wearing weaves and hair pieces and extensions. So miss me with that. And you have Botox all up your face. So stop. But even beyond that, prior to Bethany's reality TV reckoning, which in my opinion has been a big failure, it's been a big flop. The message is correct, but the messenger and the means have been completely wrong. Completely wrong. But after her interview with Rachel Leviss with the whole Scandal situation flopped, the Vanity Fair article, in my opinion, was a flop. Now, all of a sudden, she wants to bring Nene on the podcast to be the face of the reality reckoning when Bethany herself said that, Nene was broke and Nene didn't have any money and Nene was desperate to be back on TV and needed money. So Nene shouldn't be the person to be the face or in charge of the whole reality reckoning, and that Bethany said it should be her because she's the one who has all the money and she's the one who and she's the one who doesn't need Bravo and all this, that, and the third. But it's really, really funny how she had no problem using Nene on her podcast when all of her other endeavors failed and flopped. The Rachel interview was a flop. The Vanity Fair article was a flop. So now she's with Nene. Now, this is my thing. I'm confused as to why Nene would have agreed to go on her podcast. I would not, if I were Nene, would not have gone on Bethany's podcast. You're not going to clown me. You're not going to, do racial microaggressions about me and my cast members. You're not going to say I'm broke and I don't have any money and I'm desperate and I'm thirsty. And then when you need me because all of the things you're doing isn't working out, now I'm going to show up and be on your podcast. But there's that, right? There's that. So Nene has been hypocritical. She's mad at Bravo when she's not in favor with them. But when she is in favor with them, she doesn't have a problem with it. Bethany's a hypocrite too. Now let's move on to our second section. Now, remember at the beginning of the video, I said that Nene is very, very hypocritical in two ways. The first way we just went over about not having a problem with Andy and the racism and the toxic environment and Bravo and all of that, as long as she was working and getting jobs and getting money and getting fame. But the moment she fell out of favor, which not just Nene, a lot of housewives have. Vicki Gunvalson got fired. Dorinda got put on pause. Ramona, all of that. Who else? A lot of them have been fired and put on pause. A lot of housewives, a lot of OGs, right? A lot of people in general. And at the end of the day, Nene, you are a employee. And unfortunately, as long as you are an employee at anybody's company, you are exposable, you are fireable. And you didn't work at Bravo for free. So there's also that aspect of it, right? Now, this is now where we're getting into the second part of her being an extremely hypocritical housewife. Okay. What happened to wanting to expose Bravo? What happened to the whole racism, the bullying, the favoritism, the toxic work environment? What happened to wanting to help other people who are being exploited? What happened to creating a reality TV reunion? Because Nene, not that Bethany is a saint by any means, not that Bethany didn't have her own agenda, but if you're going to join the cause, which was the whole reality reckoning, Nene flipped on Bethany in a heartbeat. She scrubbed her entire social media of any of the podcast interviews. You go on Bethany Frankel's podcast in social media, you can't, it's not linked to Nene anymore because Nene's unlinked herself. She deleted all of them. She scrubbed all of them. Literally, the moment Bravo refollowed Nene on Instagram, Nene then refollowed Bravo, right? All of that. So I'm confused. Were you doing the podcast and did you join the reality reckoning TV or reality reckoning, mission or whatever movement, whatever you want to call it, because you genuinely wanted to make a difference, because you actually cared about the racism that does exist in institutions and corporations. Did you really care about people feeling like that they were being bullied and exploited? Did you really care about unionizing so people could get residuals and healthcare and mental health and being paid for what they're worth? Did you really care about that? Or were you just being bitter because, like any employee in this country, you were able to be fired and you were? And to be fair, and I'm not going against Nene at all, because I believe everything she said in her lawsuit. But my question is, why did you do the lawsuit only when you stopped getting the Bravo check? And now you're proving that right, because now all of a sudden Bravo is paying you a little bit of attention. You completely turned your back on the mission, which is what I thought was to make sure that the racism and the bullying and the toxic work environment and the exploitation was going to be corrected. But the moment you think Bravo is going to take you back, you turn your back on all of that, on all of it. And that's why I'm like, you can't keep having it both ways, Nene. You can't keep harping on Bravo did me dirty and Bravo's so horrible and all of this stuff, but then be so desperate and thirsty to get back on Bravo that the moment you have a glimpse, all they had to do was follow you on Instagram and you completely flipped, right? And then now we see her in Dubai doing the absolute most. There's pictures of her at Lisa Milan, with Chanel, with Portia and Cynthia. The Real Housewives was let go. Tamra Judge was let go. Vicky Gunvalson was let go. And the Real Housewives of OC was the first Housewives franchise ever. And Vicky Gunvalson was the first housewife to ever exist, and she got fired too. So it's not like they were just doing it to Nene or the people at RHOA. They were firing people systematically all over the place. And this is not me defending Bravo. This is not me defending Andy. This is not me defending NBC Universal at all. This is just me looking at the picture in its totality of, does someone have credibility and integrity? You want to do the charge of exposing this company and exposing all of these people, but yet you're so desperate to be back into the fold. I just don't get that. Like, make that one make sense, right? Now, moving into the third part of this, the reason why, and I'm being a little cheeky, I'm being a little facetious when I say Nene should thank Bethany, is because of this. I have a conspiracy theory on this. I think the only reason why Bravo is making amends with Nene, following her on Instagram, being a key, is because I think that they are very, and I don't give Bravo and NBC a lot of credit a lot of times when it comes to their strategy. But this was a very strategic move on their part. Because the moment Nene scrubbed her Instagram and her social media, the moment she distanced herself and turned her back on Bethany and the reality TV reckoning, it completely demolished and completely discredited the whole reality TV reckoning even more. Because I personally think that the reality TV reckoning was a flop. It was a flop. I think the core message was correct. I do think that the talent should be paid more. I do think the talent should have a union where they have, more humane working conditions, access to healthcare and mental health, access to residuals. So every time that, that they air the shows, they're still making money off of it because everybody else is making money off of it. The executives who aren't doing a damn thing but sitting in their $1 million mansions, they're not on TV acting a damn fool. They're not on TV exploiting themselves, but yet they're cashing all of the checks. So I do believe that the core message of the reality TV reckoning was right. There should be more protection for the talent. They should be protected more. They should have more access to resources and they should have more access to money and residuals for the work that they do. I do think the core message was correct. The problem is the messengers and the means were completely whack. Bethany should not have been the head of it because she totally screwed it up. Theoretically, she should have been because theoretically, she's right in the sense of, you know, she I guess you could say she has like the money and the success from it and all of that, blah, 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 blah. So she could kind of be like a face of it, being like, listen, there was a couple of things she needed to do. She needed to take more accountability for the role that she played in the toxicity of it. Like there's a lot of other things Bethany could have done, but that's for another video on her. But I think theoretically she could have been the spearhead of it in that sense from the business aspect of it, right? But the execution of it was whack. The fact that she had Rachel come on to be the poster child was completely wrong, completely tone deaf. What Rachel and Tom Sandoval did with Scandoval literally has nothing to do with the core message of the reality TV reckoning. Nobody told Rachel to have sex with Tom Sandoval off season behind Ariana's back. That was something she was doing because she wanted to do it. No producer told her to do that. There wasn't a camera up. They were so clueless they didn't even know it was happening. So completely wrong person for it. And people were like, oh, she should have Nene on. She should have Nene on. And I said from day one, no, Nene isn't the person either. Because Nene plays the victim whenever she's not getting the bag. And she's a flip-flopper, as we've seen. She came on to, Bethany's podcast and, telling her truth and blah, blah, blah. And then literally, it's like when you know what it's like? It's like when you have a good girlfriend and she's dating a real scumbag guy who's a jerk. And she just cries for hours about how he cheats on her, he disrespects her, he ghosts her, he doesn't want to commit. She cries and cries and cries. And you just listen to her whine about this for hours and hours and hours about how this guy just doesn't like her and disrespects her and won't commit to her. And he's an F boy and blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, I'm done with him. It's over. And you spend all your time trying to soup her up. And then the moment he sends her a text at 3 a.m., you up, she is right there in his bed. And then the cycle starts all over again. That is what Nene does. She wants to cry victim about Bravo and NBC and all of the racism and all the stuff that goes on there, which I do think is true. But then the moment they follow her on Instagram, all of a sudden, she's back with Team Bravo. And Andy Cohen, I'm exposing him. So Andy Cohen says, in my opinion, he is totally, 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 totally faking it. So Andy Cohen has now come out and says that he has room in his heart for Nene. You're telling me Andy Cohen has room in his heart for Nene, the woman who called him the sea head, saying that he likes to, go skiing with some nose candy, the woman who called him a racist, the woman who basically, tried to tear him all the way down, the woman who sued him because he was implied in the lawsuit that she did against NBC and Universal. And he's saying he has room in his heart for her. The last woman that did that, Kathy Griffin, who exposed Andy for how he was, how he tried to take her down, got her fired from her job with Anderson Cooper, got her blacklisted. You're telling me he has room in the heart for you, Nene? Andy's lying. This is what he's doing. It's strategy. Andy hates Bethany more than he hates Nene. So he's saying, I have room in my heart for Nene because she knows that Nene's going to take the bait and want to come back and be in the good graces because all of a sudden, she wants to be cool with Andy. Andy has room in his heart for her. I thought Andy was this, drug addicted, racist, mean boss and all of this crazy stuff. Only when you're not his favorite, right? I don't think Andy has room in his heart for Nene. I think Andy is playing the long game. They know that they have completely demolished and discredited Bethany Frankel's reality TV reckoning because she basically used very weak links, Rachel and Nene, to be honest with you. Very weak links. And so I think they know, just from a strategic standpoint, oh, everybody hates Rachel anyways, that doesn't matter. But if we get Nene to turn the back on it, we get Nene back, then it's truly discredited. Because a lot of people were like, oh, Nene should be the poster person for this. And I was like, no, she shouldn't. The poster person for this needs to be someone who production themselves directly told them and made them do something that they did not want to do against their will that caused them either mental, emotional, physical, or financial harm. And that person no longer wants to be a part of the machine. And by machine, I mean Bravo, I mean NBC, I mean the Housewives, I mean Below Deck, I mean Big Brother, I mean all the other stuff out there, right? A person who's really saying, no, I was exploited because of what they made me do, because of the situations they put me in. This is how it affected me. And I'm willing to stand 10 toes down on that to expose them. Not the moment they follow you on Instagram, all of a sudden, you're back out here doing the absolute most. You see what I'm saying? So at this point, Andy, Bravo, the production companies, NBC, they're playing chess and they're playing the long game. They have systematically dismantled Bethany's weird reality TV reckoning. I think Bethany said something. She tried to get a part of like that's the problem when you enter the chat and you didn't do your research. Bethany entered the chat about Scandival, didn't know what the hell she was talking about, got her foot in her mouth, started this whole reality TV reckoning, and it's pretty much blown up in her face. Because this is just a hot mess. Now, when it comes to Nene, I like Nene. I'm not trying to knock her. It may sound like that, but I'm really, really not. I'm just looking at it objectively from a bird's eye view, each person's component, right? And for me, when it comes to Nene, I think if she would have done something like what Vicky did, I'm not saying she has to, but I'm saying when, or even like a Dorinda, right? When you get fired and you're pissed you're fired and you're like, I made it nice. I was the first housewife and all this stuff. Instead of going the route of now I want to sue you and now I want to be the reality TV reckoning, you sort of bide your time until they bring you back into the fold because they usually do. What happened to Cynthia and to Nene and to Portia on RHOA isn't dissimilar to what has happened to the people in the franchises of New York, of Orange County, and about to be Beverly Hills. They fired people on they fired plenty of people on Beverly Hills. Housewives get fired. As long as you are an employee, you can be fired. And that's just how it is. Doesn't mean that they did you wrong. It just means you got fired. Point blank, period. Now, with Nene, I think she probably needs the money. And that's no tea, no shade. We all need some money, right? Hey, listen, we all could use some checks. We all could use some extra cash flowing in. We all could. So I'm not knocking the hustle. I'm not. I'm sure she could use the money. I think she misses being on television. There's a lot of FOMO. I think she misses the limelight. being on a reality TV show, getting the cash coming in, being with the girls and everything else, 100%. Um, do I think they did Nene wrong when she was, grieving and everything when Greg was sick? Yes. But unfortunately, they've done that to a lot of housewives when they have been grieving, whether it's been family members passing or sick spouses or sick parents, right? So I'm just kind of like Nene. I'm kind of confused, girl. Like I get it. You need the money and you want to be back on TV 100%. The problem, not the problem I personally have, but what makes it problematic. Let me put it that way, because I have nothing personally against Nene. I actually think she's really funny. I think she's great television. But what makes it problematic is when you try to conflate so many issues, because there are people, whether it's reality TV or not, who are being exploited, who do go to their job every day facing racism, facing homophobia, facing sexism, facing ageism, facing, whatever evil ism there is out there. There are people who don't have the luxury in this particular time to quit or to find a new job or to find a new means. And I'm sorry, but Nene wanting to be on RHOA is a luxury, not a necessity. Being on a reality TV show, come on. There are people who are truly facing that. There are people in reality TV and non-reality TV who are, working themselves to the bone, being exploited and not making the money that they are worthy of and valued of. So my issue is when you conflate these real world issues with your ego being bruised because you thought you were too big to fail. You thought you made Bravo. You thought you made Andy Cohen. You thought you made the network. And your ego is bruised. So now you want, because your ego is bruised, now you want to exploit people who really are going through things. Because I don't think people who really are going through real things that she tried to talk about is this thirsty to be back in the good graces of an Andy Cohen, is this thirsty to be back in a toxic work environment. And that is what makes it problematic for me when it comes to that. You can be like a Vicky or a Dorinda or who else am I trying to think of? Even a Cynthia, right? Cynthia or whoever. 1 second, guys. Sorry about that, guys. So you can be like it literally, even a freaking Teddy Mellencamp or a Tamara Judge or a Heather Dubrow. Literally any other housewife who's been fired, you can do what they all did. They do Watch What Happens Live every now and then. They do their podcast. They do their little promos. They show up for a friend of. They show up for cameos. And they bide their time until Bravo calls them back into the fold, which has happened with basically every single housewife that has been fired. You know? So, all of that to say this. This is the big question. Do we care? And I really mean that as a literal question and a philosophical one. Do we care? Does it matter that Nene pretty much was a hypocrite? When her ego got bruised and she fell out of favor, she wanted to use every single buzzword in the book to go after people who just let her go. But then at every turn was thirsty and wanted to be back in the fold. Does it matter? Do we still want her back on our show in spite of this? Do we want her back on RHOA? Do we want her back on Bravo? Do we care? Because that's really the question, right? Do we, as the audience, actually care? Are we like, let's just bring her back? It's all good. Who cares that there's been lawsuits and racism and reckonings and all of that stuff? Do we care? So, with that, you guys, put it down below. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think Nene is a hypocrite? Or do you think, no, Bravo owes her everything? They need to just, pay her what she wants to be paid and do it and put her on, and it's fine. What do you think about Bethany Frankel and her whole, reality TV reckoning? Do you think it's a flop? Do you think it blew up in her face? And what do you think about Andy Cohen? I think Andy's playing the long game. By saying he has room in his heart for Nene, he basically discredits everything she said about him, particularly because now she wants to be back in his good graces. Do we want her back? Do we not want her back? Doesn't matter. Put it down below. But before you do that, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. And I'm going to drop the link in case anybody wants to come up and chat. And then I'm going to also take some of your candy cane questions and comments. All right, you guys, let's see here. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Donna D. She goes, I do hope Nene gets back on RHOA. Bravo owes Nene. I also don't think Nene should have gone on Bethany's podcast. She brought a lot of views Nene could have kept for herself. I agree. I do think that, let's get back to this one. I do think that Bethany exploited Nene, but at the same time, I do think that Nene exploited all of the buzzwords and all that stuff in order to, bring a light to her cause, I guess. But I don't know. It just seems a little hypocritical to me. Donna D says, hopefully Nene and Bravo are working behind the scenes to work on the racism at Bravo. I hope so. But that's another thing, though. It's like, when you make something so public, as in a lawsuit, and then going on Twitter and Instagram, on YouTube, on podcasts, and all this stuff, you need to now then clean that up publicly as well. And in my gut, I don't think they're working behind the scenes to work on the racism at Bravo. I think Nene behind the scenes is just trying to get her peach back. I think Nene's just trying to be back on TV, and I think she just wants to get her check. I don't think that she's actually, to be honest with you, this might sound a little harsh. I don't think Nene actually cares about the racism. I don't think she actually cares about the bullying and the toxic work environment. What I think Nene cares about is the check and being back on TV. That's just what I think. Donna D says, I think Carlos King's interview did more for Nene than Bethany Frankel's did. Joe W says, I voted yes, she's a hypocrite, but honestly, I still want her back on RHOA. And that goes back to my last question. The big question is, do we care? Because she is a hypocrite. I mean, she is. There's no, and ifs, ands, or buts about it. She is a hypocrite, right? And I like Nene. This isn't me personally bashing her at all. I like her. I think she's really funny and she's great TV. But she is very, very hypocritical, But does it matter? Does it matter? And I think a lot of people are kind of like, yeah, she's a hypocrite, but you know what? A lot of people are hypocrites. A lot of housewives are hypocrites. Andy Cohen's a hypocrite. So bring her back on. Who cares? Like I said, for me, it's more problematic when you try to exploit issues and groups of people who are already being exploited because your ego got bruised. And then the moment you think you're going to be back in favor, you're no longer championing for these people that you proclaim to be championing for. That to me is the most problematic part because, being a housewife, being hypocritical just kind of goes hand in hand with it. Joe W says, I think she spent a few months on YouTube and wanted back ASAP. Yep. Janet says, Nene is 1000% a hypocrite. Andy Cohen is complete A. Listen, I agree, Janet. Virgo Queen says, I did the same. LOL. I would watch RHOA again if she came back. Janet says, Nene needs the money, period. Joe W says, Andy taking Nene back is the best way for him to squash what she said about him. Exactly. Janet says, Joe, exactly. Andy is shutting Nene up. Hey, Mel, you want to share, sweetheart?
Hey, how you doing? Candy, how you doing?
what just happened to me? Internet, but we're back. Is anybody there? Hello? Are we back in business?
Hello.
Oh my God, you guys, you're not gonna believe what just happened. Our entire house just lost internet service. Nene was coming for me, the spirit of Miss Leaks. Woo!
You sure it was the spirit of Miss Leaks and not Optimum? What is going
Woo!
on?
What is going on, child? You don't understand. I just went through it.
My gosh.
So, Mel, sound off, sweetheart. Woo!
Well, I'm happy you're back, honey. I was like, what is happening, Miss Candy? I'm
I
like,
know.
well,
What happened?
but Candy, I didn't blame Nene. I was going to say, was it the aliens? Like,
Was
did they
it the
come down? Like,
aliens? Was
my
it Andy
God.
Cohen? Who knows? All
Was
right,
it,
sound
was it X-Files?
exactly. Sound off, sweetheart.
Okay. Wow. Well, happy Cyber Monday. Glad the internet back on. Happy Monday. Oh my gosh. You know what? I think that what you said is it's spot on. But as a Nene fan, I have to be totally transparent about that. I feel that if I want Atlantic Housewives to stay on for another couple of years, which I do, I know that it needs Nene desperately, and I know she's not perfect, but I truly don't feel that there's no other option. They've tried so many different things to
Mm-hmm.
revive that franchise, and nothing has worked. I personally feel that they need a grade A, top of the level, top tier comedian. And that's what Nene is. She truly is that comedian.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the years she was there when Greg was alive, at the end,
Yes.
it didn't work because, and that's kind of what not you, of course, but I've watched
Yeah.
other people say this. But people say, "Oh my gosh, she's so mean." I'm thinking, for me as a viewer, I feel like it came when she was under amount of stress that just was out of this world. When you take care of somebody who's dying, you just don't. You're not the same person. So I think that
Mm-hmm.
now that she's, I think if you saw the Instagram, you're on it, so you get this. So
Yeah.
she's on this weekend. She's been on Instagram with the girls, honey. She's been up there with Cynthia and with Portia and some ladies from Dubai or whatever, and they look good. They look really good. And I think that for me, I need that in Atlanta. I don't need the bad filming quality, the way it looks. Okay, am I going there? You know, Nene, little girl, Miss Candy. I love, but I like your show, and I should say it
Thank
more like that.
you.
I like her. I have a good time over here. It's
Thank
really good.
you.
I feel like I'm becoming more myself, which could be a good thing or bad thing. I don't know, but I'm
It's a great thing. Becoming more of yourself is always a
over
great thing.
here, but because other places like but I just like let me just show Miss Candy some respect, whatever. But you definitely have you're very nice and everything. But
Oh, thank you.
I enjoyed. I really do, and I'm glad I came home. I saw you on. Yeah, I think that for me, the girls over there, and I know this is not we're not talking about RHOA specifically, but
Right.
the way it's filmed looks terrible. It looks so muddy. It looks so
Mm-hmm.
grungy. The women are beautiful, and obviously for the both of us, it's important to both of us. We're black people. They
Yes.
are. We both agree they are beautiful ladies, but I think that the way they being filmed is doing them a disservice.
Mm-hmm.
Because the same thing that happened in New Jersey, they caught it. New Jersey, I live next to it. I live in Manhattan. New Jersey's an ugly state. I'm sorry, I don't care. Don't sue me for it. it is an ugly state. But what happens is with New Jersey is they figure out a way to make it look beautiful. So they
Mm-hmm.
only film it in the summertime, which is that New Jersey has the best. It is that it's the most pretty. I don't know what they do in Atlanta, but they need to figure out a way to make it beautiful. They need to bring back Nene. They need to
Mm-hmm.
negotiate some kind of situation. And as you said, Candy, she's not perfect. So we're not going to get a perfect person coming back. I
Yeah.
never, you know what, to be honest with you, I never thought she was going to be my civil rights leader. Never. Okay. Come on, Candy. She was not my civil rights leader. But what I will say is she gave me all the feels, all the kiki, everything I needed on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
Um, she never was that girl. She never was going to be like out there, because my God, she was wishy washy on the fence. I will say that I love my girl, but she was wishy washy on the fence with Trump for a little bit. I didn't get that.
Yup.
Okay, because
She sure was. She was
come
getting
on.
her Omarosa on.
She was on the fence. He was, oh, I can't, he's in office. So she's not going to be my girl for civil rights, never. But
Yep.
she's definitely going to give me what I need. That show is in crisis. And
It is.
they need her. And I was happy. The biggest thing that came out of that very boring BravoCon was the moment when Andy's kind of said, you know what? He kind of took a big exhale. It was like, you know
Mm-hmm.
what? I'm not holding on to anything. And I hope that I forget what he said, but it was no hatred. It was a soft little open door opening a little bit there. And I was like, oh, maybe this might be what we're waiting for. We might be able to get some kind of get her back on the screens. They need her there. And that was the thing that I thought too. And I hope somebody else could jump in. What I thought
Yeah.
too was when I was on other panels, when I called not panels, like calling to different channels, and people just be
Mm-hmm.
dragging her. I'm thinking, guys, and everybody, ladies and gentlemen, everybody, either we're going to get the show canceled or we need her back. Just point blank, period. Candy is not this. She is. You know what? She's a brilliant businesswoman, but she's a boring character on the Housewives show. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
But also her life is very interesting, but she doesn't want to put it on the camera because her life is
Mm.
extremely interesting. She has a lot of things going on. She knows where the bodies are buried in Atlanta. I'm joking about that, but yeah, because you know what, Miss Candy, listen, with Diana from the Beverly Hills, honey, she taught me a lesson. Yeah, when I'm up here, I gotta be making sure I'm not saying what I saw. I'm not doing none of that. I'm just gonna just have fun. But but Candy, she's a complicated lady, but it doesn't go on camera, it doesn't show up there. So and I also think in a strange way, Nene activates Kenya. She
Yeah.
she activates her. So you know, Carol Razzleville and Jill Zarin Smith and Ramona and Luann, they all say that Bethany uses them. Basically, she got on that show, used them for a couple of years when she got back, and then she left abruptly.
Right.
She didn't give him a chance. So if Nene did it to her, well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander kind of thing. I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, to me, Bethany and Nene are very similar. They're
yeah,
both big hypocrites.
yeah,
They both also have big egos. So when their egos are bruised, they do these big things. But then once they get a little sliver of validation or back in the good fold, they totally about face.
yeah,
Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? And like
yeah,
Bravo, NBC, these production companies, they're not doing anything to fix the racism and the exploitation and all of the other things. Like, come on. And I
right.
don't think Nene's behind the scenes, like, let's have race conversation. She's like, how big is my check going to be? But the
Hmm.
gag is, I don't think it's going to be that big because it's proven that Nene needs Bravo more than Bravo needs Nene because you're like, oh, we need Nene for RHOA. Do we? Or do we need a production company that can get out there and cast fresh people? Because I'm personally kind of over the OGs. I'm kind of over the rinse and repeat. Like I want and not necessarily like a New York reboot because I think that
Ooh,
kind of felt flat. I think
right,
that could have been done better. I think it's a production problem. It's a casting problem. And I don't want to see the same 10 recycled people over and over again. They've been on the show for 10 years, 12 years. Like, come on. There are women out there who are beautiful and wealthy and cuckoo and crazy and all of that stuff who would be great new fresh people. Like I want to see new lives. I want to see new stories. Like you talk about Jersey, that is the most stalest, recycled, drama dysfunction ever. Like, I don't care about the Gorgas. I don't care about the Judices. However you, like, I don't care. I want new people. And that's a problem in the entertainment industry in general. You see the same 5 actors, the same 5 comedians over and over and over again, the same 5 black ones, the same 5 white ones, the same 5 Asian ones over and over and over and over and over again, when there are so many new talents, new writers, new actors, new reality TV stars. Like, I don't think they need Nene. They need new casting.
Okay, so you know what, we might agree to disagree with that, which I
Mhm.
love. I love,
Yeah,
love,
of
love.
course. Of
So
course.
let me ask you this question because, you know, again,
Oh, wait,
I don't.
and Chels is here too. So, Chels, if you want to chime in, chime in. But go ahead, Mel.
That'd be great. So I want to ask you this too, because you know I'm learning more about your channel and about you, and I know that you've worked and you've done different stuff in the industry. So I want to, because
Yeah.
you might know this very well. So you know, as a viewer, I'll say viewer, but I think you're more behind the scenes in that world. So let me ask you this. So
Yeah.
as a viewer, I will admit that for me it becomes difficult if I see the branding. If I see Bravo come up with another housewife show branding or Atlanta, whatever it is, and we don't have the ingredients, the flavor that we're getting used to. So I want to know from you, do you think that, okay, so this is what I think. I think that with Real Housewives of Atlanta, if we don't have Nene there, that brand itself, that name, that city, the Real House of Atlanta will be over for me personally. I just don't think it will work. But to your point, I think that if they didn't brand it the Housewives of Atlanta, they figured out a way to brand it something different that included maybe you know, LGBT people, you know, if they tried this and they just didn't know how to fit it under the Real Housewife thing, that they made it as interesting as you said. They are interesting people, but we just didn't brand it the Housewives of Atlanta. We just made up another name, but it's in Atlanta with these really dynamic people, very interesting people. Maybe that might work where we, you know, we didn't label it a housewife show, we just labeled it something fabulous.
Right. Well, that's a different conversation. What you're talking about is creating a different show. And I think there's always room for that. There's always room for creating new shows. If it's not the Housewives and it's like, that's a different show, and that's fine because there's an audience for that. There is a space for that.
Mhm.
But I'm talking about the Housewives, and I'll make it analogous to dating. Right? Say you're dating a guy or a girl, whatever. Say you're dating someone,
Mhm.
and you know, they're not fully committed, but there's really great things about them you love. They're kind of an F boy, they're kind of a savage girl, you kind of like them. And then you're like, you know what, we're going to break up. And you go out and then you date a bunch of duds. And then you go back to that. It's not really the best, but it's better than these duds. Versus if you went out and you dated someone who actually treated you really well, who actually really respected you, and you would be like, there's no way in hell I'm going back to what I used to have.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel about these rinsed and recycled and repeated housewives. Yeah, they all have moments. Yeah, they have great things about them, whether it's a Vicky, whether it's a Nene, whether it's a whoever, blah, 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 blah. But the only reason why they look good is because what we've been given is bad. But if you went out there and found someone who like was that girl who could really give and have like a new family, new friendships, new money, new social circles, newness, then you would be like, yeah, that's that girl. That's better. That's what I'm talking about.
I see. I see.
I don't want to go back to
Yeah.
something I knew just because what they're giving, i.e. casting, is lacking.
Okay. You know
And I
what?
do think that there's a hunger for
Right.
newness.
No, I think, you know what I think. First off, I love that, and
Mm-hmm.
but you know what I was gonna say, Candy. I think you're brave because for me as a viewer, I get so used to, and we all probably do. We get so used to what we're used to. Basically, we're like, I'm going to
Yeah.
tune in on Sunday for this, and this is what I want. But what you're suggesting, that would require me, just me, not you, because I think that's so brave that you put it that way. For
Yeah.
me, it would require me to have faith in Bravo. And at this point, I don't. So that's probably why I want to go to what I feel might work. But I think what you said, if they shocked me, if they took your advice and they shot me and did the
Mm-hmm.
work, they weren't lazy and they really did the work and they just gagged me and totally shot me, I would be very happy. I would, as you said, somebody who's more dynamic, I would be happy. I don't have faith in them. I think that's the problem for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, Chels, you want to share?
Hey, can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear
Yep,
you.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
I don't know. I was having some problems earlier. I'm sorry.
No, I did too. I went like dark for like 15 minutes trying to get the internet back.
Yeah, I was like, I seen I was on, but I was like, I couldn't hear anything. But
Oh no.
anyways, hi y'all. Happy Monday.
Happy
Um,
Monday.
I don't have much on Bethany because I never watched Housewives of New York. I just recently watched the reboot
Mm-hmm.
of like the recast. So I thought that season was, I thought it was okay. I'm just like, call me like a stickler or I'm just like whatever, but I feel Bryn was okay. I don't really like Bryn's personality, but my whole point is
Mm-hmm.
like Bryn's not a housewife at all.
Agreed. Agreed.
So I just feel like them, like with the whole and what Mel is saying, like I like Nene. I would like to have Nene back on the show, but I'd also like to have new fresh faces. But if they do what they did with New York, I would feel like I would rather have Nene and like maybe Cynthia and Portia back on the show than having like a whole new recast and they did something like New York and put women on there that are not even housewives. Like I felt like Bryn, she's cool, but she just wasn't, she didn't fit the housewives, you know, the aesthetic, the whole thing. She's not a housewife. She's not even married. Like, yeah, you can
Yeah.
talk about you being engaged for 3 times, but, and I also felt like she was not coming off as her real self. So, and I think with the same way as Atlanta, which I don't know because I wasn't watching New York, but I think that they were struggling with views too. So like,
Yeah.
that's why they needed to, you know, do the whole reboot. And I think that with New York, not New York, I'm sorry, Atlanta, I think they would have some views. And I think Mel said, you know, Nene might be different this time around because she's not going through the stages of having, you know, her husband pass away. So I wouldn't mind having Nene back. And I also think that, you know, Andy and Nene are both using each other in the sense,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? So I think because the fans have been asking for Nene to come back, I don't think anybody misses Bethany. Like if any, and you're right with people getting fired, if anyone's been asked to come back or who's coming back, it's still Nene. With all the trash that she has talked about Bravo and Andy, people still want her back. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that her talking trash about Andy and Bravo, I don't think that would really affect us wanting her back because, like, we don't care.
Right. We don't. I
It would,
don't.
it would only affect if Bravo and Andy wanted her back, not if
Exactly.
we wanted her back.
And
Yeah.
Bravo,
And I feel like that's why people want her back. Like we don't, well, but then Candy, I see your point where you're like, you know, I thought you were standing with the whole racism. And now that, you know,
Yeah.
they're giving the coins, like what's this? But I feel at the end of the day too, like money is money, you know what I mean? And she's going to be like, you know, but I also think that too, I think they might do a sit down and give us that. And they're going to probably do the whole apology thing and then move on. And that's what we're going to deal with. But
the
are they
problem,
actually going to like get to the nitty gritty? Girl, you know, they're not. Like, that's just like,
exactly. That's
yeah.
what I'm saying. Like, to me, it's like, for me, what makes Nene problematic is don't conflate people who really are going through these issues, people who really have to get up and go to a job where they are really being exploited and the racism is real, or, you know, the homophobia or whatever, you know, ageism, whatever ism that they're facing is real.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have the luxury to, you know, they need to feed their family, they need to pay their bills, whatever it is. Because honestly, Nene whining on TV about not being on a Bravo show, girl, bye.
Yeah.
When you want to step back and really look at the world in a real way, like Nene having your ego bruised because you're not on RHOA, like shut up and sit down, sweetheart. You know,
Right.
you were given this, yes, she was great and she was funny and she gives, but at the same time, you were also given a huge platform. Because you could be funny and give all day long, but if she were not on Bravo, she would not be Nene. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there is
definitely.
give and take. It's not like she was on the show working for free. She was making a lot of money and she was able to parlay it. She was getting all the acting jobs and
Mhm.
everything else. When she became difficult, those dried up. And that's not Bravo's fault. Same
Well,
thing with Bethany Frankel. You know, Bethany would not be Bethany with a B and Skinny Girl if it were not for the platform of Bravo.
right.
You
You said
know? So it's like you can't just say, "Oh, it's so horrible," but the platform that you're on was your launching pad that made you Nene, that made you Bethany.
Yeah. So can I say? I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think what I think too is that I believe that she was pointing out legitimate things that was happening. I think
Yes.
what's happening, but I think what's happening now is what Nene does is she has her own logic, and she does basically, she flips with a dime. I want to say this too. So for me personally, so if Nene came back, I'll be grateful about that.
Mhm.
But also, if she don't come back and they cancel the show, I'm sorry to say, I might even be grateful about that too, because the show is so bad.
I don't care. Exactly. Like, I'm not invested in RHOA at all. If RHOA was
Right.
canceled, oh well. If
Yeah,
they
so
revamped it, oh well. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
either way.
so I think
Either way.
I think the only thing I think okay, I'm looking at the name. I'm sorry, I can't see the name. I got to put my screen a little bigger. But Nicole was just saying,
Chels.
I will say it again.
Chels.
Chelsea. Okay, great. Okay, what Chelsea was saying, if the only thing I would care about is a bad revamp. She made a good point.
Mm,
When that's probably can't I lost my faith. When I live in New York City, and I remember I met Kara Razor walking around. Sometimes you see the girls when they were filming.
right.
Kara was actually very nice. I didn't like her on the show, but she was a very sweet lady to meet. So I was rooting for this show to do like it's supposed to do,
Right.
and it just didn't do. I couldn't. I live here, and I just simply couldn't invest in my time. It was bad, and I wasn't hurt by anything, but I didn't have faith in them actually knowing how to do something from scratch and use that brand and
Right.
use it correctly. They didn't use the brand correctly for New York City, so I had like big trust issues with them using the brand correctly to make it work in Atlanta. But as you said, if they did it and they totally gagged me, I would be totally shocked. But for me, either in my opinion, they bring back Nene and they give us what we want because we all want it, or some of us want it, or you're right, or they just cancel it. That's the only two options I would think there too. But yeah, I think that she definitely pointed out what was happening, but I think that she just sort of like, I'm trying to think. It was somebody else. I think it was this girl. She died from Glee. She was so beautiful, and she passed away. It was tragic.
Oh,
Was it
yeah.
the Naya?
Naya Rivera.
Naya. I loved her. Listened to her interviews. I think I even went to her book sign at one point, and she always had glowing things to say about Nene because she didn't like Leah Michelle. So there were people who she worked with under Ryan Murphy who adored her. And I think that what happened with Nene is what happened to a lot of actresses, especially in our community, that you're really hot in the moment. And then when you're not really on a show or you're not really popping or you have that sort of, that sort of clout that the producers like, then they go, well, I'm just actually going to go for the flavor of the moment right now. Nene is not the flavor of the moment right now. So her bread and butter is to be on Bravo. Now, mind you, her audience and her fans do adore her. But as far as her being hired as a Candy, I mean, I think that you're kind of in the industry. I think that unless you're like Meryl Streep level, oh my God, it's Miss Viola Davis, honey. Unless you're really doing it and really have the chops to do it, you're not going to get those kind of stunt casting if you're not really popping. And I think that's probably what she's probably mad about because she's not popping because she's not on reality TV. I don't think Hollywood hates her. I just think that she doesn't have the clout for them to hire her right now, especially because her talent as far as acting is not high level.
Yeah.
And I think that, but also I think the way she went about the lawsuit was sloppy.
Okay.
And that's why she didn't get any money.
Yeah.
Because like I said before, it was like, no, I mean, it's true. Like, let's compare, right? So Mariah Huq, you guys watch Married to Medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Mariah Huq, she was the creator of that show. That show was her idea. She went to Bravo and pitched it. She's the executive producer and creator of that show. Bravo and NBC was trying to basically undermine Mariah and take this show from her, even though it had been seasons end. Behind the scenes, Mariah sued them. She had all her paperwork in order, and she was like, listen, this was my show. I executive produce it. I'm the creator of it. You're not going to basically get me out of my own show, because she was being sort of like kicked out of the cast and all that stuff going on, right? But you don't have one tweet. You don't have one TikTok. You don't have one podcast. You don't have one Instagram post. You don't got a Facebook post of Mariah talking about it at all. She got her bag, but you watch Married to Medicine, it says executive produced by Mariah Huq. It says created by Mariah Huq. That's how you do it.
That's right.
Because she had a legitimate claim, lawsuit. She had her paperwork in order, and she had her team handle it, and she got her money. And you watch that show today, she is on there getting the props. Whereas you have Nene, who was at the time, right before she did this lawsuit. Again, what do I think? Do I think what she said happened? Yes. But do I think it's weird and bizarre that it took you being fired to sue them? when you were trying to do spin-off shows. You were trying to come back for another season. So I'm confused as to why are you trying to not just stay at your job, but you're trying to get multiple jobs at this job that you're saying is so toxic and horrible and exploitative and racist and all this stuff. And the only reason why you're going public is because said job no longer wants you. And then she was sloppy with her paperwork. The reason why her case got dismissed was because she filed it in the wrong jurisdiction. Because if anybody knows, you have to file the lawsuit in the
Oh my God.
jurisdiction that has the power to oversee it legally.
Come on. Oh,
And then also she was sloppy because she was on Twitter. She was on
Right.
Instagram. She was doing the absolute most. That's why her entire team, she had big agents
Yeah,
Right.
she's
at that time.
big-headed.
And they fired her because she was saying that they were complicit in the racism and everything that was going on against her
You know,
on Twitter.
yeah.
And that's why they dropped her, because they were riding with her.
Candy,
But
you-
that's what I'm
yeah.
saying. She fumbled her own bag.
You're right. She definitely is a hot mess. I still love her, but you know what we're saying is she basically used Tasha K's logic basically for her legal issues. I'm joking. I think that but you know what, but Mariah Huq, and I love her because I used to back in the day, she used to do a Facebook live and all the people would be there. I used to be there all the time.
Yeah.
Mariah Huq, basically, what did she do, Candace? She went Chattanooga on Bravo. That's what she did. Because on the show, she said, "Don't let me go Chattanooga on you." But that's what she did. She basically went very quiet, very stealth mode. And because you know about this stuff, the word on the curb is that not only did she go Chattanooga on them and got her stuff, like you say, on the show, but allegedly this year she's supposed to be in the coffin. And I'm hoping that's what the word is, that she's supposed to be in because the trailer, somebody's in the coffin that comes back from the dead. So I'm hoping she makes a reappearance because I used to live for Miss Mariah Huq. She was.
Are you talking about Mariah? Like, can she come back too, please? I mean,
exactly.
We're talking about comebacks. I
would
want
love
Mariah to
Mariah.
come back. I don't even know why she left.
I co-signed that. Mariah left because she had miscarried, and the women basically were just not there for her when she was going through it.
Absolutely.
They basically were they were kissing Quad's butt, and to me, I think Quad is so dirty because Mariah really helped Quad even before the show. She really kind of really helped her. And then Quad wanted to be that girl when Mariah was that girl. It was Mariah's show. She brought the show to Bravo. She got Quad on the show, and Mariah was married and had the money and all that and was helping Quad. But Quad wanted to take that spot. And so the girls being pygmies turned on Mariah.
Miss, you know, Candy, listen. Oh my God, you fabulous because you talking about my Married in Medicine, and I watched that show for a long time. So when Mariah left, I stopped watching because I loved her so much. And again, she was another person that was very friendly offline because I used to communicate with her, talk to her before it was Instagram, it was Facebook, and anybody who know, she used to do a lot of lives over there. Her family, everybody was gorgeous, and I used to be a part of their little groups and stuff. But her reads now are still dragging the girl, especially when she called Quad Mr. Potato Head. She said, you know, a lot of stuff about Quad. But you're right. I think that for me, the thing that I thought was disgusting, now we're going to Married in Medicine, the most disgusting moment I had on that show, and it always shocks people when I say it because I'm pretty mild-mannered, especially on YouTube. I'm politically correct, but not off YouTube. I'll put it that way. But was Jackie. Now, listen, I love an educated, powerful Black woman. Let's not get it twisted. I love that. But she said to Mariah,
I can't stand Miss Jackie.
Come on, now you my girl, because you know what? What happened was she was sitting at the reunion, and Mariah was in her feelings, obviously, as you just stated perfectly, that she was having disconnection with the girls because she had miscarried. That was not really caught on the show, but they just show her healing. So now they were on the couch, and Jackie, of all people, this is a woman who deals with Black women and these issues. She said, listen, well, we didn't know what to do because when this happened, we just thought that you reach out to us. I'm thinking, like, Miss Lady, stop that. Now, would you tell your client who, God forbid, one of your clients had this issue, this medical tragedy, would you tell them to sit back in their house alone and wait for people to reach out to them? No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Would you tell them after they had a tragedy for the person who had a tragedy to reach out to the people? No, you would hope that the people will reach out to them.
You. That's what a friend does. When you are at a low point, your friend reaches down to bring you up.
And Jackie
you don't reach up. Listen, Dr. Jackie is, I'm going to be honest with you. She is a bitter, miserable person who needs to eat a frickin' sandwich, okay?
Ooh,
Because
well,
what she did to Duffy,
Oh,
no,
thank
Buffy,
you. Thank
Buffy,
you,
to
Candy.
Buffy was
Yes.
so wrong on
So
mhm.
every
freaking
single level.
wrong.
On every single level. You do
And
not
she knew it.
speak, and she knew it. You
Yeah.
do not speak on another woman's womb
She knew
without
it.
her permission and then double down on it. And this is the thing, Jackie. I like she's here. I'm talking to her.
Come on, I love it.
This is the thing, Dr. Jackie. I would have sympathy for you because I do think a lot of your bitterness comes from the fact that because we know she did have cancer and then she wasn't able to have her own children because she went
That's
to
right.
chemo and
That's
everything.
tragic.
But
That's
her
tragic.
but her bitterness comes from the fact that she married a man, her
Uh-uh.
husband,
Uh-oh.
who set her up for the okie doke. He married her for her money. Let's be serious. It should be married to money, not married to medicine.
Okay.
And he told her, yeah, we can adopt, we can have the kids. And then every time she wanted it, he was nowhere to be found. He was probably out there dipping it and doing it in the hotel room
I'm
with the
telling you.
girl with the big booty that he got caught having all the affairs with.
Uh-uh.
And I think that she is so bitter that that happened to her. And I'm not being disrespectful, obviously, to people who have cancer or people who are unable to have children,
Absolutely
obviously.
not. Of
But
course.
you don't turn your tragedy into bitterness. You turn your tragedy into compassion and understanding. So
Right.
I say that to say this, out of every woman on that show, the one woman who should have had the most compassion for
Mhm.
a woman who just lost a child to a miscarriage, the most compassion to a woman who was unable to get pregnant and had miscarriage after miscarriage and after miscarriage should have been Jackie because on the show, she is the woman who wanted exactly what those women lost.
That's right.
And
That's
to
right.
me, it makes it even sicker that she's that bitter and mean to other women who, of all the people, she should have the most empathy for.
You're absolutely right, Candy. I was going to say this too
Yeah.
to both you ladies. So because I'm not going to use the terminology, but in my family, I have women that sound like you, Candy, and I
Mhm.
also have women who sound like something else. And I think that for me, one thing that I used to didn't like about Jackie was that she always wanted. She had an idea, and we can go there. She had an idea of what a black woman sounds like. If you ever caught. She had so many issues with Mariah because she was giving you that sugar, she was giving you that flavor, she was giving you all that sass. And she said,
Mhm.
well, when you do your head that way, I'm like, hold up. What did you say that she got to turn her head and sound? Wait a minute. Wait. Don't you know that there are sisters out here in Atlanta and Brooklyn, wherever they from, who can dip and twirl and read and do all that kind of stuff, but still be a PhD level smart? You don't have to sound like you're trying to pass, Miss Jackie. I'm sorry. I really want to go there, but that was always used to bother me because my family, we have women of all different sizes and sounds, and sometimes people who sounded whatever, they would get so, oh, well, can you not use this? And I thought it was so sickening that a sister would tell another sister, oh, you can't sound that way. You have to sound like me. And I that's one of my triggers because I think that I don't think the way that person sounds had anything to do with the education level. I know that not to be true. I know that you
Yeah,
sound how you want to, and you could be the head CEO.
Yeah, I agree.
I
And
agree. Because
and that,
it's not how you sound, it's the content of what you're saying. And to be
absolutely,
honest, Dr. Jackie is the one who sounded ignorant as hell.
yeah. And see,
Because if you have any level of intelligence, you know that dialect is not an implication of intelligence. It's
thank you.
just an implication of the region in which you grew up, and then you became accustomed to talking a certain way.
And
Yeah.
That's all that it means.
every reunion, she would just you ladies. So every reunion, she would sit next to Mariah and go, "Oh, she's doing this her head." I mean, I'm sorry, in a way, she
They're
almost came
just
up.
jealous. Because
She
the thing
almost
is,
came. She
Mariah
almost came.
to me is like the Lisa Vanderpump of Beverly Hills.
Yeah,
Like
Mariah was the queen.
She was.
Like she
mhm.
was. If you watched it from the beginning, like she was, y'all, when Toya and her got in the fight at the pool, season 1. I will never forget. That's what made me. I was like, "Oh, this is about to be it." And they still kept going. They still were like filming and shooting. I
Mhm.
love. I really want her back, Dr. Jackie. Yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned the Buffy, and I hate how Dr. Heavenly came in. I really think that she drove that wedge in between her and who's the other doctor?
Simone.
Simone. Yeah, because
Mhm.
I
Yep.
think that their relationship is never going to be the same. But I think that it speaks levels more on like Jackie. I see through her. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
think
Yep.
that she tries to come off like just a real sweet, like innocent, I'm just here, but she's real shady. She's real shady. I would put her next to like to me it speaks levels though, because Heavenly is shady as hell. Like she's not
Heavenly is evil. No, that is an
she's
evil
not a nice
woman.
person. Like she's just not. She's one for the money. She's one for the check, and that's what I heard.
Yep.
Like she was gonna trying to be the new Mariah, and like look at Heavenly season 1, and they're trying to get on Sweet Tea.
Oh
Was it
my
Letitia now?
God.
I mean, poor thing. Like I feel for her. Like
She
we're the
was
same age, so
Mhm.
I feel for I
no.
feel for her,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like she got to know what she's coming to. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
you got to be
You know,
prepared.
yeah,
But
you ladies are spot on. I remember because know I love that you know all these lingos. So in Atlanta, one of my favorite scenes was Kenya was going against Cynthia's sister, and Mallory. She said, "Well, I'm not the one you want." So that always stuck in my head because I feel like Sweet Tea don't know who she was dealing with now. See, Heavenly
Yep.
is easy picking. She's not that complicated. She's a smart woman as a dentist, but you can see her tricks coming 3 miles away. Like
yeah,
how can you not see all the tricks you know? So the thing is,
Mhm.
and Candy, and also Chels, this is what I thought was so crazy about Sweet Tea this year. How are you sitting up on her live just before the show premieres, and now the woman is dragging you every single episode on Instagram,
Oh,
on
so
Twitter, on
embarrassing.
YouTube, and you couldn't see that coming. Every person that's ever come on that show has been dragged, and the thing is for me, and because I'm sorry, you got to give Heavenly unbothered. So when she started doing the little spoiled little brat, little kind of nasty little tricks she does,
Yep.
you cannot get triggered inside of that because that's kind of how she baits you. She wants
Yeah.
you to be like shocked. She said, "Well, I thought you were my friend," and then she's constantly maligning you and tearing down your weight, your looks, your house. I mean, my God, don't you think the woman is a beautiful woman? Everything is bad about it is all coming from Heavenly. We also got to remember that any new person that comes on that show, Anila, Lisa Nicole, Sweet Tea, I'm trying to think of anybody else. They never make it because the people who run the show is Heavenly, Jackie, and Simone.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody who they don't get along with, they ultimately get pushed out. Simone would flip on the new person faster than she would go against Heavenly. Now Heavenly and her don't get along that well, but she will flip on anybody new. So I think the Sweet Tea, I'm sorry, but she just was like going into she's a sheep going into the lion's den basically, and she's not a good reader. She doesn't really have that thing. If I was her, I would have probably went off. I would have went. I'm like, wait, hold up, stop the presses. Fourth wall. We breaking the fourth wall right now. You ladies are gonna have to stop this right now because I'm about to get you together real quick. Y'all gonna stop trying to talk about my looks, my weight. I married this man. We having a good time. You need to back up. I'm gonna go the hell up now. I'm not violent, but I will get you together real quick up in here. So let's just stop that right now. But she don't.
True. But this is the thing. I agree. Like, trust me, I'm not defending Dr. Heavenly by any means, because to me, I think she's very evil and she's a very nasty person and deeply, deeply insecure. And I predict that the moment her daughter is day one in college, daddy is out the door. But this is the thing. Seriously. Right? When it comes to, like, he's out, he's ready, he's bouncing. He's like, I got my bags packed too, girl.
Not daddy.
Now, you know what I'm saying? And so, but when it comes to Sweet Tea, like, girl, she was not prepared. She's playing not even checkers, she's playing Connect Four. Okay. Like, girl, like, she's playing Connect Four. Like, you can't come onto the show talking about, oh, what I like about being engaged is now I have access to the money. Even if that's true, lie.
I'm
And then
telling you.
also, like, don't, and then admitting that she was in a Facebook group for sugar babies.
Yeah. It was
Girl.
Girl.
And
She
then
playing.
admit that you were the one who
That's right.
slid into Dr. G's DMs talking about, and again, we're going to talk about fertility. So I'm being very respectful about this because I don't want to be insensitive to anyone, but I always like to preface when every time we talk about sensitive stuff. But Sweet Tea girl, you got up there talking about, I slid into Dr. G's DMs talking about I can give you what you want, and like a baby emoji, which I thought was very disgusting because of Quad and what she was going through, and like, you never know what a woman's going through when it comes to children and having babies or not having babies. You never know what the real deal is, right? And I think that's really disgusting. Even if she did do that, don't say that, because that's basically shaming Quad. But karma works fast and has everybody address. How come in the next scene, this chick was like, oh yeah, and I went to Dr. Simone for my fibroids and all this other stuff. So you're sliding into this man's DMs talking about, I can give you what you want, a baby, shaming another woman because who knows what Quad's fertility issues may or may not be. And then all of a sudden it turns out, can you give him what he want? You got tumors and blisters and cysts and fibroids all up in your uterus.
Oh,
And
Lord.
I'm not saying that to be disrespectful to anybody
No, of course not.
who's going through that.
Right.
But I'm just saying karma knows everybody's address.
Well, Candy,
You're
you said
coming
it.
to him acting like you're this girl going to give you the baby and blah,
Right.
blah, blah, blah. And then turns around, you're dealing with some issues that could maybe hinder you from having a child.
I'm telling you. Listen, you said
That's
it.
why you got to be careful, because I don't want karma coming to me about Jack Diddley.
I
Nope.
know that's right.
Leave me alone.
The world is correct. You said it correctly. She's playing Connect Four, but I would say she's playing Connect Four with no pieces, basically.
Ooh, not no pieces.
No pieces.
Tic-tac-toe.
She got nothing up there. Listen, the girl needs help. I don't think she's a bad woman, evil woman. I just think that she's basically is being the sacrificial lamb. The ladies knew that they didn't have anything to really do this year that was up there, so they just basically butter her up. You know, the Southern ladies, they let me use some sugar, some kisses, and tell you how sweet and beautiful you are, and then start backstabbing you like crazy. And if she was that woman, then she would be able to stand up and really, take them one by one. But she's not, so it's really cringe TV. It's hard to see just all of them just go after this person who's not really good at anything. So.
Yeah.
And she's not coming like with the sauce. You know what I mean? Like I would never tell Heavenly, Quad was right about a few things.
Oh.
About like when I was like, what is she doing?
What
like,
is she doing, girl?
What is she talking about? And I feel like she's trying to be like her authentic self, but then you got like messy head Phaedra in the mix, and I just feel like she's a producer plant too. Like I don't know why she's there.
100%.
I don't know why she's there. It's another like Bryn thing. You're not even married to medicine, and she's bouncing from like little franchise to franchise.
Yep.
It's not the fact that I don't mind Phaedra. It's the fact that it doesn't fit the concept. She's not married to medicine. Bryn is not. It's not that I don't mind Bryn, but she's not a housewife.
Right.
So can we at least, bravo producers, can we at least get on like that concept, that thing? Like, wasn't she over there in Dubai? Like, stay over there in Dubai. Like, I don't know. I didn't really watch Dubai.
What we need probably is Candy to write a letter. No, Bravo, if you're listening, look at Candy Washington's channel and beg this woman to produce or give you some ideas, because between her and also Chelsea, y'all both have brilliant ideas. And it could be one thing, what you just said, Chelsea, you said about Phaedra. I would say one note about Phaedra is that she's very muted. She's very muted. There's nothing going on. Now, we know that Phaedra could bring the heat, the crimes, allegedly. I want no problem. She can bring a lot of drama, but she's giving nothing. She's not giving anything. It's almost like a very careful version of Phaedra. I don't like the careful version of Phaedra. I know that the more real version of her is dangerous and get her in trouble. But that's who Phaedra is. She's always been that one since day one. Right now, for years, even at the girls' trip, she's been very muted. Nothing is going on. She's not bothered. Nothing is happening. I don't think if she even went to Atlanta, she would show anything, because I think that she got dragged so brutally when she was married to Apollo and all that stuff she went through in that crazy lady Angela Stanton, that she just want to show up there. She want to give outrageous looks. She want to be a little kooky. That's it. Well, that's boring, because that's not Phaedra.
Because why would she invite? Why would she invite Quad to
be messy?
Bachelorette?
The producers told her to.
Yeah, a producer plant. 100%. There's no way. And how Toya acted, Toya was me, because I would have went off, and I hated how Sweet Tea acted. Like, what are you doing? There is no sitting by me. There is, I need you to leave. Like the fact that Quad needed to get up and ask, like, do you want me to be here? I would have made that whole, it would have been my scene. That would have been my scene.
Right.
You just went off on your sister. Like, you literally just went off on your sister. And then Quad comes in here and it's sit down. Like, it was just all too much.
Yeah, it's a absolute hot mess. But like, I just feel like Sweet Tea is just so completely out of her depth. I think, and I think a big reason why she's so out of her depth is because she went in thinking she knew. It's like when you think you're smarter than you are. Right. It's like you go into a room and you think you're the smartest person in the room, and then you quickly find out you're not.
Right.
Like, that's how I think Sweet Tea thought she was going to come on the show. She was going to be the new hot young thing. She was going to bag this guy for some money, and then it quickly turned out that like she was very much swimming in the deep end. I don't think that she knows Dr. G. I don't think Dr. G knows her. I don't see that. I
Ooh,
don't see
okay.
that relationship lasting.
Really?
I don't think it's going to be very happy. You know, the fact that she's already talking about, oh, everything Quad said about him is true. Well,
Mhm.
hello. How
Yeah.
did that end up for her?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Domestic violence and a divorce. So where do you think it's going to end up for you, sweetheart? Because
Wow,
a tiger doesn't change its stripes.
that's true.
And
Now,
when
yeah,
they rolled back the tapes, I was like, ooh, that was even
yeah,
more cringy when Quad said that it's not based off monetary things.
Monetary. Yeah.
right.
I was
That's
like,
so,
damn.
yeah.
And and Quad and Dr. G fought each other. They were talking about how they were on the ground and all this stuff. I'm sorry, but like if you tell me ahead of time that a man in any context, I'm not being sexist, but if a man in any context put his hands on a woman,
Mhm.
and then I'm like, you know what? Let me slide into his DMs. I can give you what you need, baby emoji. Well, you know what? You're gonna get what you got, girl, because you signed up for this.
Yeah.
Like Sweet Tea, you knew what you were getting. You just wanted
Mhm.
to literally, like, was it Dr. Heavenly? She's like, she's not digging for gold, she's digging for copper.
Yep.
I will give it to Dr. Heavenly on that one because, I mean, she basically came on the show and said, yeah, I'm looking for an old man to provide for me.
Like if we're gonna have Dr. Heavenly on the show, we need somebody to match that, and that was Mariah,
Right.
and that's why we
Yeah.
need her back because
Yep.
we just need her back. We're Mariah. I'm a Mariah stan, so.
Me
Me
too.
too.
I
But
love me
you
some
know,
Mariah.
it was great talking to you, Candy. I
You
love you, girl. I
too.
just
Love
found
you
your channel
too.
not too long ago, so like
Welcome to the
not
Candy
working. I'm
Kings.
not working right now, so like I be listening to y'all. And Mel, like I've heard you and like listened to like you call in to like other YouTubers. So it's so cool to like be on here with you. I'm like,
Woo!
Oh, thank
oh my
Yes.
you.
gosh, yes, like it's you, it's like Mims, it's Sherelle, it's Gabor, like all of you guys, and then like now you, Candy. I just watched the Bravo reviews, so all of y'all are great. And Candy, everything you pretty much say, I always agree with. So anything like I
Woohoo!
don't agree, like you make really good points. So it's just like an agree to like disagree. So
Oh,
100%. Always come
yeah,
up from a place of understanding, not agreement, because we can agree to disagree, but we're gonna have fun
yeah,
doing it.
right.
yeah,
You know
no,
what? But
Yep.
Chelsea, you made a lot of good points, and I want to say too, thank you for that because it was. I think I'm not sure if you know this woman. She's a beautiful lady, Tisa Tells. She was
Mhm.
the one that initially put me on because when I first called into her show, I didn't even
I
have the.
remember Tisa Tells. She was doing the she was like Portia down. She was
Yeah,
bad down for
yeah,
Portia.
yeah. Me and her. Still, yeah, she was still. She wasn't. Me and her friendly still, and she was the
Yeah.
one that kind of put me out there a little bit because I was.
She's beautiful.
She's nice. She's pretty good behind the scenes too. But yeah, thank you so much. I'm a caller. I get passionate, and I knew of Candy because she was doing this panel because it was this woman who I used to call into. Her name was I forget her name, but she was on the panel with three other ladies, two ladies at
Mm.
one point. I used to follow the other ladies, and I saw her, and I subscribed at that time. And so when she started doing these recaps, and it was so calm, and it wasn't like other people. It was like, oh, this is pretty. It's like it's very relaxing over here, very relaxing.
Oh,
yeah,
yes. Yes. I very much intentionally cultivate a community of kiki. Like we just have fun. We
Yes.
laugh, we have fun, we keep it positive. All opinions are welcome. And that's pretty much it. You know, just enjoy ourselves. Life is too short and just have fun with it.
yeah.
Yeah.
The little Bravo community that tunes in. You know, you guys are great.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just glad we all can bond off of something. You know.
Exactly. Take
Yeah.
our mind off of the other stuff in the world. It's
Not
nice.
all of my like friends and shit like watch it, excuse my language, but like so like I get to tune in with y'all. And then my boyfriend, it's so funny because like bless his little heart, like he just it's background noise to him, or I just like I have to watch it. It was so funny because you guys, I just have to say this before I leave. So I'm
Yeah.
getting ready to watch Potomac, and he calls the housewives like the HOES, like the housewives or whatever. So that's our little joke or whatever. So he sees Bravo's coming on. He's like, oh gosh, which one is playing? And it's Potomac, but he doesn't know that yet. And right when the screen comes on, it's Robin's face, and he was like, oh my gosh, like the oh my gosh you said, because he's like it's these ones again. And I was like, yeah, babe. I was like, it's these
ones again.
And it's so funny because when I watch Jersey, like he swears. He's like, of like the husbands and stuff. He's like it's just so funny. So yeah, I kind of got him like into it, like just subconsciously, whatever. But yeah. But all right, you guys, enough. I will talk your guys' heads off. So I'm gonna go.
No, it's good. It's fun.
Have a good week.
You too.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye, sweetheart.
Well, you know what, Candy, I'm going to jump down too, but it was good. This was
This was
fun.
fun.
I mean, we were popping just now. We were like,
Yes,
it was
you
great.
inspired me. I think tomorrow we'll do a full Married to Med.
You know what? So I got to catch up because I know that I'm going to catch up with the Married to Medicine because
I'm gonna watch the latest episode tonight, I think, and do it because now I'm like, you know what? This topic is hot. We gotta talk about it. It's hot. We gotta talk about it.
Listen, anybody who loved Mariah Huck, who knows her, who watched it, and you gave her tease, stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, that was my girl. And
yeah,
I mean, again, you're the YouTuber, so maybe you do know. The word in the curve allegedly was that Mariah comes back this season, that she's in the coffin.
I hope so.
Me too. I mean, I don't think it's.
So. I love Mariah. Like there are only like certain housewives and people on the Bravo shows where I'm like, I in real life would want to like be friends with you. And for me, on Married to Medicine, the only person I'd ever want to be friends with would be Mariah.
Me too. She was
like on Beverly Hills. I want to be friends with Sutton, but not anybody else.
Wow, you see, for me, I agree with you with Sutton now. I used to love, it's controversial to say, I used to love Dorit, but now, because of the way she treats Garcelle, it's a whole other thing. But Mariah was everything. And I before we had YouTube, it was Facebook Live. It was Facebook Live, Candy. It was just people on Facebook watching the show, and I was there. And she was just so interactive, so sweet. People have met her that I have friends in Atlanta who met her, and sweet lady. So yeah, let's just do your It was fun. It's very fun.
We'll do it tomorrow. This was so much fun. Mel, I love it when you call in. So much fun.
Thank you. Have a good night. Talk to you soon.
You too. All right.
Okay.
All right, everybody. This has been so much fun, but I'm going to go hang out with my mom because she just walked into my room and I want to spend some time with her. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me, and put it down below. Everything about Nene, Bethany, Andy, this reckoning. I think the reality TV reckoning is a big flop. It's pretty much over. Is Nene a hypocrite? Yes. Do we care? Maybe, maybe not. But until then, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Shout out to my panelists. Thank you so much, Mel, NYC Reviews. Thank you, Chels. Shout out to my beautiful Candy Canes, Vodka, Adam, Nataski, my girl. What is up, sweetheart? Thank you so much. Who else was in here? Donna D. Thank you so much. Janet, Chrissy, Kamiko, Virgil Queen, Miss T, sincerely Juanita. Everybody, thank you so much. Adam, thank you so much. So if I missed you, I apologize, but I love you guys. Be sure to hit the notification bell so you don't miss when we go live. Upcoming this week, Beverly Hills, Married to Medicine, Potomac, Miami. It's going to be hot. So I love you guys. I'll talk to you next time. Mom, say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.